vibe with redheads or like gingery features. And not to say you're unattractive, it's just that's what you are.
The girls that I have dated are very athletic, slender. I mean, that's just the type of mold that I'm attracted to.
Usually I would have sympathy for someone, who's struggling with body image issues, weight loss, weight gain, whatever. I would, empathize with them. But in this case, Gina can't choose what should offend her and what shouldn't offend Clint. She is the one who started this fight. She cannot suddenly start playing victim because it didn't play out the way she wanted it to play out. And I hate the fact that Mouse, I've sort of put out this Instagram post saying, oh, was Clint right or something like that. No, she said they were open and honest in their relationship. So I'm sorry, this is part of his honesty. And sadly, he's done it in front of everybody else. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. Episode I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 6. So if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a like and a comment. Okay. So the episode starts off with Dominica sort of calling her mom. And I don't get why she got to call her mom. I don't get exactly what happened with McKinley that she felt she needed to speak to her mother. I know he does. She said she doesn't like the fact that he jokes a lot, and some of his jokes are not really that funny. But I thought they always went on their honeymoon without their phones and only got their phones back from honeymoon. So I don't understand what really happened that caused her to want to speak to her mother. It wasn't clear as to why. I know she says she speaks to her mom every day, but I always thought that Mars didn't give them their phones until they're back from their honeymoon. But hey, maybe things have changed. During our conversation with her mom, Dominica complains about, the fact that, you know, McKinley likes to joke about a lot and he's always moaning about stuff. And it's like, you have to be willing to compromise in a relationship. Yes, you are adventurous, but he's already told the experts that he's not adventurous. He wants someone who will take him out of his comfort zone. Yes, he might complain, but he's still participating in whatever you're doing. So I don't get why um, she really felt that offended. And her mom did sort of try to pacify her. So hopefully it's not going to be such a big deal for them. Because I didn't yeah, I get her saying, oh, he complains when you do this, he complains when you do that, but I don't think it was that much of a big deal unless there's something else we weren't shown. From there, we see Clint and Gina having their breakfast, and Clint is trying to get to know Gina, and all Gina's talking about is her salon. And it's like, does she not want to get to know this man? Is this her way of sort of closing him off? Or did she come onto the show so that she could get publicity for her salon? What is it? What exactly is it? Because every time he asks her about herself, she starts talking about her salon and she starts going in depth about her salon. And even Clint said, oh my God, that's all we seem to talk about, nothing personal. In her confessional sort of interview, she says, oh, I feel Clint and I are getting to know each other. I feel that if we keep working on getting to know one another, the physical connection will grow. And it's like, she's she's not convincing anyone with what she's saying. She's not convincing anyone with what she's saying. You can tell someone has told her that I need you to say this, and she's just parroting out what she's been asked to say. I don't like the way Gina's behaving. I think as soon as she saw Clint, she didn't like him and sort of played up and hoped that things would get better. And because she couldn't get over her initial sort of, oh, he's got ginger hair. I can't really see his ginger hair. Maybe it's because of the lighting and whatever. I think this is why she's sort of playing a character and looking for an excuse. And I think when she told him about his ginger features, I think her goal was to trigger him and get him to say something or do something. That way she could back out of the marriage and say, oh no, I can't put up with a person like this. Because I really don't think she's putting in as much effort as you would expect. And I think all she's talking about is her business and she's judging him from other people she's dated with the same features as Clint. That's the impression that I'm getting. To see Jasmine and Aries, they're going for a massage, a couple's massage. And Jasmine sort of brings up her concern in regards to the fact that Aries hasn't been in love before. This is a common theme in Mars. They always bring someone who hasn't been in love with someone who's been in love and wants certain qualities. And with people like Kirsten and Shaq, you can actually see the qualities that Kirsten asked for. With Jasmine, and Aries. I really don't know exactly what qualities she asked for that the experts gave her. And she is obviously concerned that what happens if he does not fall in love with her? And she's now worried that she has to do certain things in order for him to fall in love with her. And it's like, I don't think it's, that serious. They only have to be married for 8 weeks before decision day. So the chances of them saying yes by decision day and having fallen in love might not be that high. Maybe they should get them to speak to some of the couples that met through the Married at First Sight and find out how long it took them to actually realize that they were in love with one another. But then I don't know. We'll see. Next, we have Nicole and Chris. They're just relaxing. And I know they're the couple that seems to be doing way, way better than most of the other couples, on the honeymoon. But my concern is I feel like they're sort of trauma bonding. And I feel like because they're putting their best foot forward, things are just going to explode. And I don't know if they will be able to recover because it feels like Nicole is really likes Chris and is trying to reform herself or make herself out to be the person that Chris will love. Obviously, they do ask each other, "Have you fallen in love with me?" And it's like, you're only day six. There's still a long way to go. You need to give it time. I don't know. I'm just anxious about them. They could either work or they could just explode and burn. So I don't know. Hopefully, they'll be the Miguel and Lindsay from last season, but we'll see how that goes. The newlyweds meet up as a group just to catch up, and obviously Shaquille and Kirsten are sort of letting everyone know that they're enjoying their honeymoon. They were the last to sort of meet up with everybody else. So they did joke that, oh, we were worried that people would think we were already divorced, but it's just I had this presentation that I needed to do, and but sadly my wife had to come along. Sadly for her because she had to delay her honeymoon, but I promised her that I would make up for it. And so with the couples, when they were sitting, I found it a bit strange the way that some of them were holding hands, especially Chris and Nicole and Kirsten and Shaq. It seemed a bit awkward. It seemed like it was something they were putting on to try and sort of create that bond or that connection. I don't know. I don't know. I found it awkward. If you rewatch it, you'll see what I mean. And then people started talking. Has anyone had any problems? What trying to sort of gauge where everybody else is, and so Dom brought up the fact that Mac likes to joke a lot, and she doesn't like that. And Max said, he's working on it. um, Obviously, Clint had to say something awkward, so he asked, Aries, have you blown your wife's back out? Because Aries had said during their, bachelor party that, he was going to blow his wife's back out. And the ladies were sort of taken aback, and then Clint had to say, no, 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 there's a story behind it. And sort of there was a flashback for that. And I think the guys are sort of taken aback by the fact that Aries is not as hands on or does not appear to be as infatuated or all over his wife as they expected, given what he said during their bachelor party. And then during the conversation, Clint brings up that, his wife took a couple of jabs at him. And instead of asking, what happened or whatever, the first thing Nicole says is, "What did you do?" And it's like, in this case, it's not his fault. I know people would expect it to be his fault, but this is not his fault. She started the fight, and sadly, things spiraled out of hand. Kirsten had to bring up the fact that she wasn't attracted to her husband, but he ticks all the other boxes. Just she wasn't attracted because of the bald head, but she's working on that and she's getting over that. And as soon as she said that, Gina had to bring in her own 2 cents. We are struggling with the connection bit as well, but we are working on it, and hopefully, things should get better. And so, Clint, at this point, that's when he said, I am normally attracted to athletic built ladies. Those are the sort of people that I find attractive. Um, yeah, you could take it as he's saying his wife is not that, that's why he doesn't find her attractive. But still, the way it was received and the way everybody started saying, "Oh, there's a lot of curvy women here. You shouldn't have said that." And it's like he was talking in regards his relationship. If everybody else took offense to it, that's totally different. He didn't say none of you ladies are attractive because I am. He said no. We're having issues with attraction. This is my normal type. Gina said before that her type is not, does not have Clint's features. The difference is, I think, Clint said it in public, whereas she said it in private with the cameras. So none of the ladies were there to gauge what she said. And it's sad that as soon as he said this, she didn't back up and say, I am as well am not attracted to him because of his ginger features. Then I think it would have balanced each other out, and the ladies might have understood that. But I think the way she sat there and behaved as though he had created this great sin by saying, "I'm attracted to this type of woman," yet she told him, " you're not my type." And it's like, make it make sense. If you don't want to hear that, don't say it, because you can't offend somebody. And then when they offend you back, you start crying, "Oh, why did they do this to me?" No, you open the door by telling him you're not attracted to people with ginger features. It's not that he's not attractive, but that is not your type. I didn't get it. I think everybody else was taken aback as well because they didn't understand the backstory. And I wish there'd been a backstory to the whole thing. After that, the couples went horseback riding in the ocean, and I don't know why Dom was that offended. I know people want to do things as couples, and I don't get why Dom was offended that Mac wasn't that keen on going horseback riding in the ocean. Just because you want to do something doesn't mean your partner has to do it. What if Clint is the one who wanted to go horseback riding in the ocean and Dom didn't want to do it? Has she ever thought about that, or is it everything has to be done her way? I think they're going to struggle because Dom is always going to want Mac to do whatever she wants to do, but I'm not sure whether she will be able to do the same. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. So after the couple's outing, Eris has this conversation with Jasmine. They're just catching up and discussing the other couples and how that meetup went. Obviously, he does bring up the fact that, he felt Gina and Clint more or less told each other you're ugly in front of everyone, and he felt very awkward with that. And yeah, I think they were wrong to do that in front of everybody. I hate the fact that they keep bringing up this attraction issue. Always comes up every season. It's been 16 seasons. I wish most producers would come up with different questions. It's always, have you had sex? Are you attracted to your partner? Why did you enter the experiment? Those are the three main questions that they always ask the participants, and I wish they would come up with something different because it's becoming boring. It's just the same question with a different couple, and it doesn't make sense. It's not building these couples. It's just setting them up for failure. So I didn't like that. And then he brought up the fact that, Nicole was saying on the second day she'd be having sex with her husband, and yet she's not. And he was sort of saying, maybe the couples are not attracted to one another. And it's like, I think you need to focus on yourself, sir. I think you need to focus on yourself. And at that point, that's when Jasmine said, "Oh, the same could be said about you. You were saying you're going to blow my back out, and yet, nothing is happening." And he was like, "Well, I am holding back on sex because I'm trying to build a genuine connection." It does make sense him wanting to wait to have sex until he's established a connection with Jasmine. But I think they really need to have a sit down and get a clearer understanding of what exactly they want from this relationship and what they're hoping to achieve by the end of the 8 weeks. Because Jasmine seems to be more focused on the "I love you," and he seems to be focused on, "Oh, I'm withholding back on sex just because I want to create a stronger connection. I want a stronger connection." I don't know how that will play out. We'll see how that plays out. Um, and then we have Nicole and Chris go on an outing, and they're sort of talking about their relationship. I think something is not right with Nicole and Chris. I think they're going to explode, as I've said. I'm just waiting, just because I think they're too good to be true, more or less. I think someone is presenting their best self. That way they don't trigger their partner. And I think the moment sort of the newlywed sort of vibe goes away, that's when we're going to really see who they are, whether they're going to, succeed or they're going to fail. I think that's going to be it. Obviously, the guys then meet up and the girls meet up, and Chris and Nicole still bring up to the other husbands and wives that our concern is moving in together because we've never lived with anyone in this. Well, yeah, it could be a concern. Maybe because you've never lived with someone else, that you haven't picked up any bad habits from anyone else. So it will be a clean slate for the two of you to sort of help each other and make sure that, you are able to compromise and come up with something that works for the two of you. I don't know. Although Clint said, he has a feeling that Nicole is going to railroad him. And Chris said, "No, I won't put up with anything like that." And it's like, I don't think he's seen the clips of Nicole before he met her, or during her confessionals and interviews, how intense she was, and it's very surprising that she's completely different from what she was prior to her getting married. But hey, it is what it is. McKinley and Dom obviously complain about their issue in the sense that one is an extrovert, one is an introvert, and Max says he'll do one of the activities a day, and it's a bit intense for him. And Dom, on the other hand, is complaining that, oh, he keeps complaining, and it's like, have you ever tried to look at things from his point of view? Have you ever tried to understand why he's complaining instead of you just judging him to say he complains a lot? He complains a lot. Kirsten says, "Oh, that would turn me off if a man was complaining all the time," and it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I wish the girls, in giving each other advice, they were more honest. And when they seek advice, I wish they were telling the other girls the truth of the situation and not sort of a revised version that makes them look amazing. Obviously, Shaq and Kirsten bring up the fact their concern is the fact that, Kirsten feels that Shaq is talking at her and Shaq is trying to get her to open up and bring down her walls. So that's what they're working on, which makes sense. And I think it was evident once they blew up that you couldn't understand why Shaq was blowing up after the guys meet up, because it didn't make sense. I couldn't quite understand the argument and what they were not understanding, you know, from either side. Obviously discuss their concerns, and they're totally different. Jasmine is worried about the fact that Eric says he hasn't fallen in love, and yeah, her concern is genuine, and it does make sense that how can you at 39 not have fallen in love with anyone at all in all the relationships that you've had? You've never had the opportunity to fall in love. That doesn't make sense. And the girls try to help her and sort of pacify her. And on his part, Eris is telling the girls that, my wife is very attracted to me, but I am sort of a 4 or 5 out of 10 attraction wise to her. I know she's beautiful because she's won beauty pageants, but he's after a woman with a big butt. And the fact that that's priority to him doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. I think he should have kept that to himself. It's bad enough Jasmine has to put up with the comments from his cousin. Now having to find out her body might not be the shape that her husband likes, and it's like when you go on Married at First Sight, you're not going into a restaurant where you order what you want on the menu and then it's delivered to you as you stated you wanted. People need to be more flexible and they need to understand that their types have not worked for them. So I don't get that. I don't get why people are so obsessed with, but they're not my type. And obviously talks to the women, tells them she's very offended by Clint's comments. She's in the business of empowering women. And it's like, some of those women that you're empowering have ginger hair. How do you think they felt hearing you say you don't do ginger? You don't do gingers. How do you think they felt? Do you think they should just keep quiet just because, where does your empowerment start and where does your empowerment end? And I wasn't just offended for myself, I was offended for the other ladies. And it's like, he said his type. He didn't say every woman that's not his type is ugly. He just said, I am usually attracted to this type of woman. What don't you understand about that? And why are you playing victim? Oh, last night I didn't want to talk to him. Oh, this, that, and the other. And it's like, sadly, I was too tired to watch, After Party, because I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say in regards to his comments, because I don't think they were intended to offend Gina, but I think Gina was looking for something to be offended about, and she got this and she held on to it. Clint brings up the fact that Gina seems to always talk about her hair salon, and he doesn't know whether this is the reason why she ended the experiment just so she could advertise the hair salon, as I said, or whether this is because she wants a life partner. He's in it for a life partner, and surprisingly, Matt sort of was speaking up on her behalf and sort of saying, "Oh, I started a couple of businesses and I tend to talk about them, and I think your wife is very sexy, so I don't get why you don't find her attractive." And it's, well, what's attractive for you does not have to be attractive for every other person. So I don't get why Max suddenly sort of decided to sort of bring himself into that equation, because he started off as though he was sort of trying to assist, but then it became a bit awkward when he started talking about how sexy Gina was. I didn't like that bit. And then we have Dominic and Matt go for a walk, and he sort of apologizes after his conversation with the guys. He apologizes for how his, behaviors can come across if not fully understood, and it's something he was working on. And Dominic seemed happy with his apology, so I really hope they move on from there, because I think it's just a matter of communication. That's the issue, and a matter of compromise. These are the things they need to work on. And then Kirsten and Shaq were arguing, about his sense of humor and the fact that she feels that at times, he just jokes a lot about things. She was sort of implying that there's a time and a place for things to happen. And personally, I don't know whether they were asked to create an argument or whatever, because that argument didn't make sense. You can't continue to say, "Oh, I really like him. Everything else, it ticks the right boxes," and then, but I don't like the fact that you joke a lot. I don't like the fact that you've got a bald head. I don't like the and it's like, okay, what do you like about me? What really do you like about me? If you're criticizing every single thing about me, what is it you like? Let me know, and we'll take it from there. Otherwise, I can't continue to be criticized for every single thing that I do. And I think this was why Shaq sort of blew up, because he was tired of being criticized for every single thing that he was doing, and he wasn't getting any credit, because he said, I'm not getting any credit for anything good that I do. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Although I didn't like the fact that he gossiped to his wife and told, but then what do you expect from couples? Never gossip, never tell couples your business, because once you finish telling them your business, they're going to go and discuss it. So Shaq went and told Kirsten that, Ari said he's not that attracted to his wife. And I can foresee Kirsten bringing it back to Jasmine. I really hope Kirsten doesn't involve herself in that mess and it ends there. But hey, the producers are going to ask her to bring it. I know this is the reason why maybe Shaq was asked to bring it up to Kirsten, so that she can bring the tea back to Jasmine. Messy. I'll skip Jasmine and Iris because I've already spoken about them. Nicole and Chris is the same thing. And then we do have Clint and Gina. They meet up, and Gina is very offended, by the fact that Clint said he only dates slender women and who are very athletic, and it's like it's not that deep. It's not that deep, because she then walked off and said we're done, and it's like, so you're done over that comment. You were not done when you called him gingery. I don't get that. I don't get that. I think it was unnecessary drama. I think she's just looking for something to be offended about. I think just like Alicia, she didn't like Clint when she saw him, and she was looking for an excuse not to like him. If she's a hairstylist, why not dye his hair and his beard? She should be able to do that if that's what's the issue for her. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Hopefully that's the end of it, and I hope we don't get to see this play out the whole season. I wish this would end. I think we had one husband, Chris, go through a lot with his wife. We don't need another husband to be tortured by his wife for a mistake they make or for a mistake they did not make. I don't like that. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye everyone.